Good afternoon. I'm Dara Bunjon. I am the food enthusiast here at J Moore Living. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. Those of you joining us live on Facebook, drop your comments and questions for my guest or myself into the comment box, and you'll see me check from time to time. You'll sort of see my head move back and forth and check the screens. If you've seen Alyse Whitney judging Chopped or hosting Netflix Easy Bake Battle, Pressure Cooker, and the Big Nailed It Baking Challenge, you understand her bold punster kitsch persona and her love of food. She has been cooking ever since she could reach the countertop and spent most of her career in magazines like Bon Appetit, Rachel Ray Every Day, and food-focused brands like Cooking Channel, Food Network, and Chrissy Teigen's lifestyle brand Cravings. Who doesn't love a good dip? Alyse has created a cookbook all about dips called Big Dip Energy. So let's welcome the dip queen, Alyse Whitney.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, Dara. It's going to be fun to chat about all things dip.
Absolutely. And I'm just getting things starting here. Other than doing the show, what else do you have on your plate to do today?
Well, I actually am writing a story for Good Housekeeping about the Lenox Spice Village. I don't know if you're familiar, the vintage little they're little houses that look like they're all labeled for spices, and they started I think in the 60s you had to mail order them. And of course, by the time that I got around to wanting them in the 2000s here, I guess the 2020s, they weren't available. So I had been looking in thrift stores and antique malls, and they're very rare. But then they re-released the collection a few years ago and have been adding to it. So I pitched a story to Good Housekeeping about how you can add a little like kiss of kitsch and kind of the idea of a holiday town, but they're neutral and they look like beautiful Victorian houses. So I'm writing a story about that after we hop off, and then I'll shoot it over to my editor and with some fun photos that I took of my own collection, which I could tilt my computer, but it's pretty high up, so I'm worried that if I try to
Well,
bring my
I know
computer
that
up.
you have a lot of kitsch thing. I don't want to dwell on the bad news about your puppy, but you are selling some of your kitsch items to pay for surgery for your puppy.
Yeah, my puppy Miso, my baby girl, she's about 6 years old. She had emergency spinal surgery, I had to empty my savings account to save her life from being paralyzed. But she is okay now, so the news is still good. But my pet insurance defrauded me out of almost $11,000. So I'm trying to raise funds, just get back on our feet. I had to empty my savings, of course. Life is hard, but the being able to share things that make people smile. And
Yeah.
I'm having an estate sale here in Los Angeles this weekend, and then selling some of my pottery collection that I've been collecting, this company called East Fork Pottery.
Okay, so those people who might be in LA who are watching this,
Yeah.
where is it being held? Or just go to your website or your Instagram and they'll get the information.
On my Instagram, there's a couple of videos of some of the fun stuff, as well as all the information. It's run at a location called Shop and Prop by a prop stylist. I'm sure you've worked with a lot of great prop stylists, Tara.
Right.
And it's at 436 Main Street, but that can be found online very easily in downtown Los Angeles. And it's going to be going on. We're doing an evening sale on Friday from I think 4 to 8. We're going to do an evening sale, and because people are out and about, and then Saturday 12 to 6 and Sunday 12 to 6. And I'll be doing a couple more, all themed. Like this one is called Good Enough to Eat, because it's all fake foods and fun, entertaining platters and that kind of stuff.
Yep, can imagine. Okay, everybody, before I forget it, it's going to be coming up in the comments section. You can find Alyse Whitney and this information, everything that we're covering at AlyseWhitney.com. If you want to know how to spell it, her name's right on the screen. And it's the same thing with her Instagram. So I always talk about the family table, and yours should be interesting because you were a Korean born, adopted by a Jewish family in upstate New York.
Yes.
Can you tell me about the family table? And also, secondly, how did you learn more about your native food, Korean food. So the platform is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I was adopted at 7 months old from Seoul, South Korea, a big city. So I think that's why I am the person I am today, because I was meant to live in cities. I lived in New York City and now Los Angeles. My parents, my mom's side of the family is Jewish, so I am Jewish, but we kind of grew up in the middle. Like my dad's family was not really super practicing, but they did grow up Christian, and so we had Chrismukkah before it was even popular to put them together. So the Chrismukkah table was fun because I learned a lot about food from reading magazines. Like before I ever worked there, Bon Appetit, I subscribed since I was 12 years old. So that's how I taught myself to cook, watching Food Network and reading magazines. And then I got to work for those places. But the family table was actually pretty boring. I got to admit, my parents are both nice white people, and I'm Korean, so I feel like my taste buds were ready for something more, but I didn't know because I was a kid. How was I to know that mashed potatoes from a box and shake and bake pork chops weren't, the norm? Um, but yeah, there was a Korean mentor program in my local at Binghamton University in my hometown. And there would be college students who were Korean who would adopt little sibs. I was a little sib and they were the big sib. They'd help teach me the language, about the food. We'd learn to roll kimbap, which is it looks like sushi, but it's the Korean version with like crunchy vegetables and meat and egg, and it's delicious. So yeah, I really learned about who I am inside from the foods that I introduced into my life and into my family. I became kind of the cook for my family. And my Grammy, my wonderful Jewish Grammy, Ina Ballis, she doesn't really cook. So we never had the traditional like Seder's and high holidays. But what I learned was when I moved to New York City later in life, I could bring her Katz's, I could bring her Russ and Daughters, I could make her have traditions. I actually made latkes for her for the first time because she really her refrigerator has a magnet that says I only have a kitchen because it came with the house. So I had to teach myself, and I think that gathering around a family table, even if it is just my dad's pancakes that are from the box or it's my mom's casserole, like those things are so very special to me. And I think that's why I gravitated toward foods like dips, comfort, fun. It brings people together, and that's what I think food should do.
Yeah. The interesting thing, the dips, in reading one of your bios, you said something that the family had they did a lot of entertaining when they were playing bunco. I didn't know
Yeah.
what bunco was. So, folks, if you don't know, it's a dice game. You roll the dice, and it would be large crowds.
So my mom is actually very shy. So it's funny looking back. She had this group of friends that would play this game called Bunko, and they would get a little rambunctious. My mom didn't really drink, but the rest of the lady did. Rest of the ladies did, and they had a lot of fun. So there would just be there. My mom would make like a 7 layer dip, and then other people would bring dishes, and they'd be just like rolling dice and hooting and hollering and having a good time. And so I guess that like even though it was only maybe like 10 people, it felt like a big party whenever they had this like tradition of coming together. And my grandma plays mahjong, so I feel like that's kind of the same. But she didn't have she's not as rambunctious, but she likes to win.
Okay, well, who doesn't? Who wants to play a game and lose? You're in it for the win. I'm proud to say that my winnings at Canasta has now reached $8.65.
Woo!
Woohoo!
Maybe
The
you'll get
streak,
a few gallons of gas.
maybe a gallon and a half the way things are going. But, you know, that'll at least get me to the other canasta games so I can win more.
Yes.
In reading your information, because I try to dig in and contain, you went to SUNY, you got your degree in magazine and journalism, and you were really focused on that. And at some point in your career, you became a red carpet roving reporter. So you would be on that red carpet. What
Yeah,
do you think
so
of? Go ahead.
I I've had a really interesting career in life, I have to say, looking back. when I was at SUNY Plattsburgh, which is all the way up near Canada, so closer to the temperature you're at now. I studied magazine journalism and worked for the newspaper there and the magazine at my college. But I was really in tune with cooking and loved the idea of writing about food. But I loved television, movies, music, always have, pop culture. So I saw that someone had posted that they launched a new website called TV Line. It was an editor from Entertainment Weekly, an editor from TV Guide, and a few others. And here I am. I was only 20 years old. I wasn't even 21 when I graduated. I think I was, no, I turned 21 just before I graduated college. And I just cold emailed him and said, "Hey, I'd love to maybe be a post grad intern or something for you." He let me interview. I got the job, and my first day, I moved to New York City the day I graduated college, and I started that job the next week. My first red carpet was a Katherine Heigl movie, a rom-com, which is like the dream. I mean, I was a young woman getting to meet someone I'd watch on Grey's Anatomy and all these movies. She was really nice. Her daughter is also adopted from Korea. So I had a really incredible experience, like just like being at this fancy place as someone who came from a small town who didn't have um, the life that I have now, where I've been on the other side. I've posed for photos on a red carpet. It's wild to me. But yeah, like I was on the first Avengers red carpet at Tribeca Film Festival in New York. I'd be at an after party with like Zac Efron at 2 in the morning, not having a uns party time, but just being like, wow, this is really this is cool. And look at all the past appetizers. But yeah, being a red carpet and like movie junket and that kind of thing, like feature writing, profile writing on celebrities. I've done that a lot over the last 15 years of my career. And that's kind of morphed into writing pieces that are about maybe like someone who's a celebrity or in culture, but it's about their love of food and like the nostalgic moments that made them who they are now. So I
Like the
like
family
combining the two.
table.
Yes, like the family table.
Family
The
table.
family can be anyone.
Right, right. Absolutely. So I feel like you're living the dream. Just if the dream had a little bit more money, you'd be happier.
Yes, right? Like
Right?
that's what I say. I believe in the power of like manifesting the life that you want. It may not be like sitting in front of a totem and saying, I want $1 million, but I think that working hard and finding something that you're really passionate about, that even in the moments when money is tough and you're like, pinching pennies, you're still really happy because you get to be creative and excited and talk to cool people like you and like write a cookbook that was published by HarperCollins. I mean, like that's
That's
incredible to me. And I get to share my life and my dips and my joy with the rest of the world. So yeah, I think that it is living the dream, even though the dreams like sometimes have a little tiny slice of a nightmare.
right. Well, HarperCollins is pretty much pinnacle when it comes to cookbooks. Um, but you do a lot of freelance writing. You got the first permanent column in Cosmopolitan, doing the least with Alyse. And so you had food columns there that were easy to do, maybe cost effective, whatever, but you're doing the least with. Now, I've seen sheet pan cakes. I
Hmm.
have seen sheet pan entrees, but I've never seen a sheet pan soup, and you had a sheet pan soup on there.
Yes.
So that was interesting. People, you'll just have to look up Alyse Whitney. Type in Cosmopolitan and all her articles are there, but she did a sheet pan soup.
The only thing
Um,
I'll say about the sheet pan soup is that you don't put the liquid in the sheet pan. That you do transfer it to a pot. So it's kind of half sheet pan. It's not fully a sheet pan recipe, but the idea of roasting everything and then just dumping it into a pot and blending it up, it's so much easier than waiting for things to caramelize in a pot. You'll get better flavor, and it also dries out the carrots a little bit so they're not infusing too much moisture. You want like the right level. So
right,
I did a lot of tinkering to find the to do the least, you kind of have to do the most on the back end sometimes.
right, right. So let's see, you've written also for like Cherry Bomb, we said Bon Appetit, many of the magazines. I want to jump in to Big Dip Energy,
We'll give
but
everyone a
I
little
want to
show and
know
tell.
was Dip Miss the inspiration, or was that afterwards? So jump in.
Yeah, so Dipmiss and Dipmica, because I've done a joint and I've done separate, started when I was living in a tiny apartment in Astoria, Queens. And I originally it was gonna be called Dip the Halls, which was kind of the slogan. But Dipmiss was born out of me always having potlucks and mostly just enjoying bringing dip or asking people to bring a dip. So we just had everyone bring a dip or chips if they weren't didn't feel confident in their dip making abilities. And I've now been doing dip miss since 2016. So I think this is the 10th dip miss this year. I have to double check in the archive of photos, but I do believe this will be our 10th dip miss Dipmica celebration.
What do you get on the 10th anniversary? Is it paper? I don't know.
I feel like I need to do like the 12 dips of dip miss. I kind of did that on social media, but I would have to do something really elaborate, like a partridge in a pear tree dip and or something like that to do the song. But yeah, the originally the cookbook was the idea was maybe I'll do a dip miss cookbook, like how to entertain for the holidays with this fun dip centric party. And then my agent was my literary agent was like, I actually it was our first meeting. He said, I think it should be bigger and you should just do it the way that you want to, not just around a holiday, not a special occasion book. And every day that people will just like really love because that's what I bring to the table is just infusing some more joy, excitement, and a little more party into your everyday.
Well, I think there was a quote somewhere in there. It said, "Dip is the best social lubricant."
Yes. Yes, there is some a punny wordplay, and it's also a water cooler, but cooler.
Yes. Well, with dips, excuse me, well, somebody just texted me and it came on the screen. Sorry. All right. So dips, like charcuterie boards, you put it out, a group sit around it, and they communicate.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is starting the conversation, but better is the end of it is the food. Now, big dip energy. Why the word energy? Big dip energy. Oh,
Yeah.
and people, let me say that she created her own theme song, which, if you saw my stories on Instagram and Facebook, was it you singing?
It is me singing, and I wrote it. I co-wrote the song with a man named Alex Greenwald. He's the singer-songwriter of the band Phantom Planet. They did the theme song to the OC, a popular show in the early 2000s. They're in the book. If you look and you see a bunch of guys around a fire pit, we did a little concert in the middle of the shoot. But yeah, so big dip energy. Well, one energy is like radiating out of you when you are a person who is wanting to bring joy to people through food or otherwise. And also, big dip energy to me is a natural magnetism that draws people to you like chips to a bowl of dip. Can't keep going back for more. They bring the party wherever they go, and people just want to be around them. So that energy, that presence is what it is. It also was kind of a wordplay on a popular thing that I will not say the word, but the word dip was replaced by something a little more salacious in pop
Okay.
culture. Yeah. But I didn't do it for that reason, for just the kind of cheekiness. I did it because I really felt that this book wasn't just about the idea of eating dip. It was the idea of having this big dip energy, that larger than life personality that may not be overbearing or extroverted even. It's just that you make people feel excited and welcome. And especially when dip is around.
That's it. But now the dips that I had, which was probably in the era somewhere around your granny's era, the dips we had were Lipton's onion dip and Lipton's vegetable dip.
Hmm.
That was it. Eventually, 7 layer dips came in, and but ranch really came on strong. I guess about 12 years ago. It was, there was ranch dressing, and then all of a sudden, ranch this, ranch that.
Yeah.
In the book, I think you have 7 variations on a ranch dip.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So my ranch is called Cranch, and the Cranch, the CR, comes from cream cheese because I realized that if you use cream cheese instead of sour cream, you get a slightly thicker, what I call dip viscosity. So a viscosity that's going to cling to your chip and won't fall off. It also adds a slight that slight tang, but a little bit of sweetness. And then you can add your ranch seasoning powder, which will give you that ranchy flavor, a little bit of garlic and a little bit of like you don't even need salt. It actually is already salty enough. And then you can vary it by adding buffalo sauce to make a vegetarian version of a
Mhm.
buffalo chicken dip. Blue cheese, chili crisp, which is like crunchy chilies and garlic, French onion, the Lipton packet. You can add that right in and make a French onion version or everything seasoning. I think that's 7. Oh yeah, buffalo chicken dip. That's the last one.
Yeah. So just to let people know, there's so much in there. There's dip etiquette. Do you care
How
to
to not
discuss
double
a
dip.
little bit of?
Yes. When you are at a party and there's a big bowl of dip, if you're not spooning onto your plate, do not go in with a chip, bite it, and dip again. That's number one. Don't double dip, just in general. But I have techniques so that you don't double dip if you are in a communal bowl. There's the dip and flip, where you dip and then you just flip it over and you dip again. There's the dip forward and backward where you drag your chip one way and the other way in one fell swoop, and then you get double dip on your chip without double dipping into the bowl. And you can even sandwich 2 chips together and make a little dip sandwich. But yeah, I tried to give people everything they could need. As from being a magazine editor for so many years of my career, people want things that are digestible and eat like digestible, pun intended, I suppose, but
Mhm.
they want to be able to understand everything they need to know on one page. Like they want like it to be visually appealing. So like that's why there's like little sidebars in the book that will say what sort of dippers in this matrix of things that you can dip into this dip. What should you use? Little tips. My best friend illustrated me as a chip named Chippy, and you'll see her on almost every page of the book giving Chippy's Tippy, a little tip that maybe isn't in the main part of the recipe, but will enhance your experience. Modification, so you can change things out if you're vegetarian, vegan, if you can't have gluten. Like I like to make sure that everything is spelled out for people, but also in a way that engages them to want to keep going.
Well, there, I liked some of the things that I didn't think about. When you're filling the bowls with a dip, you don't want it filled to the top. So you don't want it dripping over. And when you're dipping, anything excess has time to drip back in to the
Mhm.
bowl. So a lot of tips in there. One of the fun things, explain Fran Fine It. I understood it,
Yes.
but
So, store bought is Fran Fine, is what I say on my dipper matrix. It's a combination of that Ina Garden, who I've had the pleasure of cooking with at her home in East Hampton when I worked at Bon Appetit. She was our first guest editor. I got her to do that. So I love Ina, and her kind of ism is store bought is fine. Like, if you can't make it homemade, store bought is fine. And I really do believe in that. That if you like, you're not going to make a potato chip for your dip. Like I tried it and I said it's too fussy. People aren't going to do this, so I didn't do that in the book. Fran Fine, the iconic character from The Nanny, played by Fran Drescher. I just combined those two things. I knew that not everyone would immediately pick up on it, but those who did would really appreciate store bought is Fran Fine.
yeah. So, and I bring that up, folks, because you're going to see it. Lise has generously given us a recipe that I picked out of the book, and there's a reason for that, which is already up on J More Living's website. And when you go there, there's a food tab on the menu, and you can click on that, and the recipe is there. and it's called the Ritz, the poutine on the Ritz dip and potato fried cheese curds. So there's two recipes if you just want to do fried curds or do the dip. But why did I pick that out of all the recipes? Because Baltimore is French fried and gravy town. It has been that way growing up. And the Canadians came in and added that little stinking little cheese curd recently, and it's become a thing. But I had explained to Alyse in the summer of 1960 something in Atlantic City. Um, there we go. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Nice picture. She,
Yeah, poutine on the Ritz. And my dog is named Ritz.
oh,
But there we
that's
go.
right. Okay, that recipe is up on J More Living, and there's a link to it right there in the comment section. So, summer of 1960 something in Atlantic City, we all be done at the bars at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we go to the bars and go get snacks. And I get French fries and gravy. And the guy from Rhode Island, who was called Rhode Island John, said, "Gravy on French fries." And I went, "You put gravy on mashed potatoes?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "So what's the difference?" I converted him. It was an amazing cultural exchange. What can I say? So, folks, that's why that recipe is there. And you get recipe for gravy, you get the recipe for the multi-spiced cheese curd. So check it out. So much to say. Um, Link in the column. I'm just reading Dip Etiquette. Um, oh, I see on Instagram you've been doing a lot of sourdough breads.
Yes, I just started my journey.
I didn't know if that was like maybe a book in progress.
No, this is just for me. Sometimes I have to do things just for me that I'm not writing about necessarily right now. Like I am logging some tips and tricks I've learned along the way. I always credit the bloggers or authors that I use their recipe because sometimes I make some tweaks, but it did come from someone who spent the time to teach me something from afar. I don't think I would ever do a full sourdough book because I think that would be just, it's a lot of time, and energy and, um, specificity and technique. I didn't go to culinary school. I'm not technically a chef. I didn't work in a restaurant kitchen. I know you didn't either. But I'm a very, very, very proficient home cook, a longtime food journalist, and I really know flavors in a way that makes me happy and excited to share. Um, and I think that with the sourdough journey, it's been just fun to experiment without any boundaries, without any expectations. And yeah, so if I come to Baltimore, maybe I'll bring in a loaf.
You know what? I learned more about bread watching the Great British Bake Off.
Yeah.
That be able to see through the dough and
Hmm.
um, baking is more of a challenge. And there are times where I'll tackle it. I've been into a lot of cheesecake lately. It's
Ooh,
just a thing. Yeah.
my
It
mom
was
makes an
the
amazing cheesecake.
caramelized top cheesecake, but it was mango.
Oh, so like a Basque
Spanish.
cheesecake?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah,
Basque mango Basque cheesecake.
that sounds
So,
really good.
yeah. It was, you get the mango puree.
Oh,
And the
okay.
first mango puree I had was a little bit better than another brand. So I have to go over to the Indian store a little further away and get another can. But
Yeah.
you have leftover, so you can freeze it and do another one. But I
Yeah.
made about three of those, so I guess I would make it and eat it all. I have to make it and take it somewhere.
I have a suggestion for you with your leftover mango puree from my book if you'd like.
Make
Um,
it in the dip.
yes, I have a peaches and cream protein dip. I call it that because you use cottage cheese. Very popular these days, was popular back in my mom's day too, and I've loved cottage cheese my whole life. Blend it up. You barely need any sugar because the mango puree, I'd imagine, is already sweet. So you
Yes.
can alter to taste since you're such a great cook, you'll be able to taste if you like it or not, or you need more sweetness. But yeah, you can basically use any fruit there. I use frozen peaches that I kind of stew down and then let cool and blend that in. But you can do any fruit you like and it will make a great, it's kind of like those cottage cheese doubles, but you have it in a dip and you can pack it for if you work at a job, for your meal prep, or put it out at a party.
It's funny you said that because I was looking at it and I went, you know what? Mango would be good in that.
We have the same
Absolutely.
brain.
Same
You're a dip
same
queen.
thing. Yeah. Well, I have a feeling we could probably talk in person. We should get together and
Yes.
over some dip and chat away. But we're running time wise, so I don't want to keep you too long. But I do have my questions that I ask at the end of the show, and no rush on the answers. You answer whatever you want. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
I think it would be to invest or save some money in a way that you don't see it, but it's just growing. Kind of like just, I know that that's kind of a boring answer, but it's also like financial freedom would be so nice now if I had put aside even little bits of money when I worked at like Home Goods in high school, just little bits. If I spent money hard living in New York City in my 20s, and I wish that I had put aside a nest egg. So that's the advice I think I would give. When you're 18, before you actually make money in life, put little bits aside and as you go it'll grow. My parents gave me that advice, but I didn't listen. So I wish I could give myself that advice.
Well, interesting enough, I was still living at home and done with high school, and um, my mother required $20 a week,
Mm.
10 towards paying off the car,
Oh.
and 10 towards she would put in a savings account for me for an emergency. So that was part and parcel. Then I had to get a tooth, and I went to her for the money, and she says, "Well, I don't know." I said, "It's like I need to replace a tooth. It's not like I'm asking I want to go, buy something crazy." Eventually, she gave me the money, but it was always put a little aside. I agree with that. All right. If you can wake up with a new talent, what would the new talent be?
Ooh. I I think this is a very silly talent, but one that you could learn. But when people like saber a champagne bottle at a party and everyone claps, I think that's really cool. Like just having it may not be the sabering, but if I could wake up with a talent that gives everyone just a little ooh and ah and like a spectacle, just because I can just do it, just pull it out of my back pocket. So the first thing that came to mind was sabering. So I'm gonna go with sabering champagne.
Okay. Okay. Well, I see people do it, but then I'm hesitant. I don't have the
Yeah.
confidence to tackle it. And what if I ruin the knife? And what,
I think
I'm a
you do it with
scaredy
the
cat.
back end of a knife though, so it isn't the sharp side. So if that helps, you wouldn't probably ruin it. Maybe we just need to have a little more chutzpah. We just gotta
That's
get it
right.
off.
Was that Korean?
No, just a little Jewishism.
I know, I know. It's just being funny.
Yes, yes.
Um, Two musts that must be in your refrigerator.
I always have Kewpie mayonnaise, Japanese style mayonnaise, which I use in a handful of dips in the book. And I always have either some form of cold brew or iced coffee. I never drink hot coffee.
Okay. Somebody, that might have been on Milk Street, one of the episodes that I listened to, they just talked about the Kewpie mayonnaise and
Yeah.
the history of it. So because of that and the book, I have it in the refrigerator now.
Oh, great. There is a really great Kewpie mayonnaise cookbook that came out. Someone I used to work with at Bon Appetit. Her name is also Alyse, Elyse. And another a food stylist named Jesse Yuchen. They did the Kewpie book together. It's really cute. So if you see it at the library or your bookstore, check it out too. It has some really great recipes and the history of Kewpie.
Um, what makes Kewpie different?
So it has a little bit of sugar in it. And so MSG, which has widely been debunked as giving people headaches and such, that flavor enhancer is in it. And I think it has more egg yolks than whole eggs in to make it that like gentle yellow color.
Okay. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
enlightening us. All right. What was your ultimate culinary fail?
Oh, well, I think that my impatience, it sounds like you and your, what did you describe yourself as a baker? The word you used?
Frustrated.
Yep. Yes. I find baking sometimes very frustrating, even though I'm in the sourdough journey now. I feel like my baking fails. But one of the biggest ones that I can remember is I was just trying to make a cake for my mom, off of a Smitten Kitchen recipe. The recipe was great, but I was insistent that the cake was done and it wasn't. And having to like get that sweet spot of it was supposed to be a little molten in the middle, but it wasn't supposed to be raw, and then I cut into it and it just spilled. So that was I think it was both a cooling mistake and maybe like misadjusting the timing. And yeah, I was quite young though, so I've learned since then to just, take your time. And not rushing in life is probably another thing I would give my advice to 18-year-old me. Just, take your time with things. Even if it takes an extra
Right.
5 minutes, it's usually worth it in the end.
Well, I found I'm in an apartment and my oven would say it's preheated and I put it in and I found that it wasn't preheated, it just goes off early. So
Yeah.
now I just let it preheat for 30 minutes and I know it's all set. What's the best bite you've had all week?
Ooh. My friend last night texted me and said, "Hey, corned beef is on sale because it's after St. Patrick's Day." He's like, "I got 2.5 pounds for like $7. I'm making it in my slow cooker." And I was like, "Wow, that sounds so good. Maybe I'll go get one." And the grocery store that it was on sale was right next, like 2 blocks from his apartment. So he made the most incredible cabbage, onion, potato, corned beef soup. It had been simmering like 12 hours, and that was the best bite. And he's not a chef. He's like in no way trained, but his flavors. He's Vietnamese and he didn't add any Vietnamese ingredients, but I feel like the way that he cooks with like the intuition of the way his mom cooks and taught him made a really flavorful soup out of almost nothing. So I
Mhm.
really liked it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. My neighbor gave me smoked turkey necks because she
Oh
had too
yeah.
many. So this week I just put cannellini beans and cabbage and that and threw things together. And when it was done, drizzled some olive oil, put some cheese on it. It's
Oh, that
wonderful.
sounds so good. And I feel like
Yes,
these like it's nice to have a meat that kind of like imparts the flavor for you. Like a smoked turkey neck is going to do that, a ham hock. I really like when something that is humble and affordable can go such a long way with flavor.
absolutely. All right, Elise. What didn't I ask you that I probably should have?
I feel like you covered so many things. You're so well researched, and it was such a pleasure. I could chat with you for hours. Um, so I think that you didn't ask me specifically like what's next, and that's still an open question mark to me, like what's next. But I am launching a podcast, and I think you would be a great guest, and a
Okay.
Substack that will have it's called Dippin' In. It'll be launching next month. Date TBD, dip sided. And it's going to dip into different subjects. It's not always going to be about dip and food. It's just going to be great conversations with people about the foods that have it brought them to life. Also like memories, like say I talk to a musician, we can talk about their time on the road and the food, but also just like the idea of the way that you change through the decades and your taste in other things changes. Like your taste in the way that you look, the taste in what you eat, and the taste in what you enjoy in life. And I'm also going to dip into the archives of 15 years of me being a writer and editor, the people I've interviewed, the profiles I've written. I've never really like boasted about myself, and that's not the point. It's not to just be like, look at me. It's like I've done all this incredible work before. I was able to have a voice of my own to be the face of it and to talk about what I've done. And I think it will be really cool to just dip into anything that is interesting to me, and hopefully other people will be interested too. So that information will all be on my website and Instagram if you do follow along. And hopefully if Dara comes on, maybe we can do a crossover with J More Living and dipping in.
Well, that sounds like a plan. I'm always willing to talk, always willing to listen. And I appreciate what you just said. I mean, basically, you've written for others this big dip energy you wrote for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the difference. I want to thank you so much, Alyse, for joining us. I'm sure in some way we will cross paths again. And everyone, AlyseWhitney.com, Alyse Whitney on Instagram. And you want to go to YouTube, Alyse Whitney, you will find her there as well. All the information about the recipe, the poutine that's going to come up, poutine on the Ritz dip, and the cheese curds. That recipe is up on J Moore's website, but there is a link here. Thank you so much. All the best. Enjoy the coming, I can't think of the pun to do for the holidays, so I'll just say enjoy the upcoming holidays, and thank you for joining us, Alyse.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'd love to come and hang out with you in Baltimore and eat some good food. Maybe can we get some fries and gravy anywhere these days?
Yep,
Perfect.
yep. Get some
Well,
fries and gravy. Okay, I have a couple notes to give, and let's see. Next week's guest on show number 279, we're counting down to 300 now, will be Chandra Ram, writer, cookbook author, recipe developer, editor, and food consultant. After spending years working in magazines, restaurants, and as a consulting chef, caterer, writer, and editor, she is pretty jazzed to tie together all those experiences into what she does today. So I hope you'll join us. You can follow me on Instagram at Dara Cooks, and on Facebook, The Food Enthusiast. I have a page there. Feel free to go back into the show's archived interviews at jmoreliving.com. There is a menu, it says food. Click on that and you'll see the Food Enthusiast, and you'll have access to all 278 shows. Don't miss the link to sign up there for a free bi-monthly food newsletter. Let's see if the mouth will work. With recipes, links to our show, and food stories from the Baltimore area. We truly appreciate it when you share our show with friends and families. May your plates always, always remain full